On this edition of Southern Newsweek, hundreds farewell Dunedin's mother of modern dance in a colourful celebration. The Dunedin City Council declares a climate emergency. And many people brave chilly conditions at midwinter events across the beautiful south. Kia ora, I'm Melissa Barton. Dunedin's mother of modern dance, Shona McTavish, was farewelled at Knox Church. 99-year-old McTavish died recently after a colourful and eventful life as a dancer and missionary.
Dance tributes for the woman who brought modern dance to Dunedin. Shona McTavish passed away last week, but was centre stage and an individual to the end, her coffin being a bespoke, flower-bedecked piece of wicker work. Dunedin actress Louise Petherbridge spoke of her decades of friendship with McTavish.
To say thank you to Shona for more than 30 years of love, and also to be uplifted by her and supported by her.
Among the many tribute dancers were daughters Trina and Terry.
As I found just now with my sister Trina dancing, you can only reach beyond yourself if you are in fact grounded. And Shona always had that balance in life as in dance, of high aspirations and sound common sense.
Her compassion for the underdog, which compelled her to create dances and to give to charities, especially Amnesty International and the Globe Theatre, was with her right through her life.
Her son, Dugald, spoke of her remarkable life when she shared her husband's work as a missionary in China and South Africa, as well as the later challenge of being a widow with 3 children.
It must surely have been hugely challenging. We must also have had terrible quarrels as children, as on several occasions I recall my mum simply walking out and off up Flagstaff in desperation, only to come back to 3 exceedingly meek and agreeable children, anxious to do anything to ensure that she did not abandon us permanently.
The packed church farewelled a performer, choreographer and teacher who brought dance to thousands of people across the world. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
Police are investigating after the Waitaki Boys High School cricket pavilion was vandalised either on Monday night or in the early hours of Tuesday morning. Windows were smashed in 2 changing rooms and the pavilion's kitchen, leaving floors covered in glass. Rubbish was also dumped on a grassed area at the front of the pavilion. It's the second time in 6 months the pavilion at Milner Park and Waitaki Avenue has been targeted after a door was forced open and a cricket shirt allegedly stolen earlier this year. Thousands of people celebrated the Queenstown Winter Festival over the weekend. Now in its 45th year, the event is an important showcase for the region, bringing in millions of dollars over 4 days.
Here we go.
The celebration of all things winter, once again entertaining the masses gathered in Queenstown over the weekend for the annual Winter Festival.
For us, it's about showcasing our place. So it's about bringing our community together. It's about that time of the year where we celebrate the reason we all live here, to celebrate the winter starting.
The weather came to the party too, fresh snowfall at night and stunning sunshine through the day. The festivities began on Friday with the annual Dog Derby at Cardrona Alpine Resort.
The Montates Dog Derby has been going for 45 years since the start of the Winter Festival. It's the only event that's actually been going that whole time, so it's awesome. It's really exciting to have it here. We ran it last year and it was huge success.
The competitors this year coming from far and wide.
First time in the snow. We're actually from Whangamata in the North Island.
Oh, he's just a baby. He's a bit overwhelmed. Needs a cuddle. Yeah.
On Saturday, thousands of people lined Queenstown Bay to watch reinvigorated festival favourites, including the Undy 500 and the Birdman.
It's been amazing, absolutely crazy, and it's not even as cold as we expected it to be. She warned us, but it's beyond expectations.
It's been great. It's been electric. It's been like the town actually has like a bit of a vibe to it. It's cool.
And while last year's Winter Festival pumped $4.4 million into the district over 4 days, the numbers for this year are yet to be crunched. In Queenstown, the South Today.
More than 100 daring Dunedinites threw common sense to one side as they dived into the frigid waters of St Clair Beach recently. Organisers managed to pick one of the frostiest mornings of the year so far for the 91st Polar Plunge.
From onesies to bikinis and budgie smugglers, hundreds of either brave or foolhardy people braving St Clair Beach for Dunedin's annual Polar Plunge. Lifeguards were on hand just in case anyone got into trouble, but the cold was the biggest issue.
I think everyone comes out pretty cold, but luckily we've got the fins have come on board with the hot water fire truck, so kind of everyone can go up there and get warm after that. So I think probably hypothermia is probably the main risk on a day like this. It's pretty safe out there, but yeah, it's mainly the cold that gets the people, I think.
But by the time the event started, the sky was clear and the winds were calm. Many participants waded into the water, submerging themselves before quickly running back out again, while others enjoyed having a splash around.
Yeah, no, I think it was a great turnout. I think it was, you could see on the sand sausages, there's heaps of people kind of watching, and there was a good couple of hundred people, I guess, at the beach celebrating this iconic event.
More than 100 people turned out for the 91st edition of the Polar Plunge. St Clair Surf Life Club Chairman Cam Burrow says the weather played a huge part in the good numbers taking part.
Yeah, I think so. Weather-wise, blue sky is probably one of the better days we've had compared to the usual howling southerly, and the surf's not too dangerous, so it's quite inviting, I guess, for people to brave themselves and run out there.
Swimmers were treated to hot soup and a warm hosing off from local firefighters who used to get hot water from the Cadbury factory, but now it comes from another iconic Dunedin business.
Yeah, so we get it from Line Nathan now, so it's Space. So yeah, the fins go there and get full of fire truck full of hot water, so yeah, it's great for these people because obviously they can go warm up, and unfortunately we're not in front of the Esplanade today, but I think it's still been a good turnout considering where we are and the way the beach is. It's pretty damaged at the moment.
While lesser dressed people frolicked in the deeper waters, this penguin appeared content to gently paddle in the shallows. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Dunedin City Councillors have vowed to follow up words with actions after voting to declare a climate emergency. Public submissions came from community members young and old before the council voted 9-5 to declare the emergency.
Members of the Dunedin community holding up placards before yesterday's City Council vote on whether to declare a climate emergency. A number of groups in favour of the declaration were given a chance to put their arguments forward.
So if you went to the amazing Antarctica exhibit, which was at our own Otago Museum, the computer models there showed that if we lose the West Antarctic ice sheet, water floods up to George Street.
Every decision council makes should be required to consider impacts, positive or negative, on climate heating as the first and primary factor before any other.
The sea levels are rising and the sea is getting hotter. The ice is melting and we need to do something fast.
Councillor Aaron Hawkins says now is the time for the council to take a stand.
The clock is ticking because over the next decade we need to do everything within our power to clean up the mess that we've put ourselves in and avoid ending up in an even bigger one, should we choose to do nothing.
But Councillor Lee Vandervis says the City Council will be powerless in the fight against global climate change.
I don't believe that we as a City Council can do anything practical in that line.
Mayor Dave Cole says he supports a declaration of emergency to get the ball rolling.
So I really do support this because even though it appears to be aspirational, as Councillor Hawkins said, it is a catalyst for more urgent action, and the action is going to be absolutely essential.
The vote to declare a climate emergency was carried despite the opposition from 5 city councillors. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
Anglers say climate change may be responsible for declining salmon numbers in Otago. About 20,000 salmon smolt have been released into a Dunedin stream this winter, and the hope they will return as adults in a few years' time. but numbers of returning salmon have been low in recent years, with anglers and scientists curious as to the cause.
Getting a taste of Dunedin's Lindsay's Creek before heading out to sea, salmon normally return to spawn in the rivers they started off in, identifying the location by smell. And it's hoped some of these 20,000 quinnet salmon smolt recently released by the Salmon Anglers Association will be caught by fishermen in a few years' time.
They should stay on the creek for hopefully 1 to 2 weeks, and then they move down the river into the harbour, and they'll head out to sea to grow nice big salmon hopefully, and come back in 2 to 3 years for our guys to catch.
Most years have seen the local hatchery at Sawyers Bay supplying salmon smolt, but this year the Anglers Association has been supplied from elsewhere.
The fish we're releasing today are coming from the Montrose nursery up north, and it will give us a bit of genetic variety as well, which is good for the breeding.
Not many adult salmon have returned to the harbour in recent years, and Corey says they suspect climate change could be the main factor in reducing the numbers of fish.
The water is definitely a lot warmer than what they used to be, and salmon are a cold water fish, and so we're picking that's one of the main reasons.
He says there might also be a link to low salmon numbers and starving yellow-eyed penguins, as they both feed on the same fish.
The salmon, will feed on small fish as well, like the yellow penguins, and so there could be some sort of factor there as well with the lack of food out at sea.
In past years, some large salmon have been caught in Otago Harbour, with a fishing competition held late summer each year. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, a Central Otago weather station is finding novel ways to deal with amorous birds, and a Hollywood director's take on the Titanic is set to make a splash in Dunedin, so stay with us. Welcome back. Romantic interludes are all very well, but a series of avian encounters has forced scientists at Lauder's Niwa Station to employ their number 8 wire Kiwi ingenuity to stop birds having inappropriate relations on their rooftop equipment.
These sophisticated instruments atop Niwa's research station in the central Otago town of Lauder are proving to be something of a bird magnet.
The magpies just come up and they see another magpie and they think, oh, I either like this one or I don't. So they'll try and assert their dominance over it and try and mount the image of themselves.
The instruments measure things such as cloud cover, solar radiation and atmospheric composition, but the birds' amorous affection for themselves is causing a few issues.
Well, if they're trying to mount it or walk all over it, then they leave quite a bit of muck over the dome, which will be interpreted as a cloud. So on a nice clear sunny day, we're sort of measuring clouds which aren't really there.
He says sometimes they lose a whole day's worth of data. To combat the problem, a series of spikes, decoys and bird repellent is now in place.
And we've blocked up all the places where they may want to build nests, so that's sort of kept the birds away, so we don't have the problem as much anymore.
Staff have also blocked up most of the nearby places birds can nest, although they are stubborn and some are still being found. In Lauder, the South Today.
James Cameron's Abyss is starting to take shape in one of Otago Museum's vast galleries. The museum has secured New Zealand exclusive rights to host the James Cameron Challenging the Deep exhibition on the first stop of its international tour.
It's been long hours for Otago Museum staff since the exhibits for film director James Cameron's Challenging the Deep exhibition arrived 2 weeks ago.
The exhibition was developed in Sydney with the Avatar Alliance, so James Cameron's team, and it's all about James Cameron's main expeditions down in the deep sea.
She says one of the highlights of the exhibition is a large-scale model of the Titanic, which shows what it looked like when Cameron made a deep-sea exploration of the vessel back in 1995. The model was used in his blockbuster Hollywood movie about the cruise liner's demise, and there's other movie memorabilia on show as well.
Also some of the costumes from the movie, so you'll see Jack and Rose's costumes and the Heart of the Ocean necklace, which is quite cool. and also the submersible from the Explorer dive. You can sit in that, which is what James Cameron spent a long time diving down to the bottom of the trench.
Alan says the exhibition is quite different from most others.
It's been a really technical build, so we've worked closely with the teams in Sydney to make sure that the narrative of the lights and music and films along with the objects are all really well presented.
There'll be 4 different documentaries playing on large screens in the gallery at different times as well. Challenging the Deep is set to run from July until February next year. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The town of Kaitangata has yet another reason to be proud and a chance to celebrate later this month. Following 8 years of hard work and more than $1 million of fundraising, a brand new community centre is now opening its doors to the public.
A stunning new community centre for the small town of Kaitangata, just east of Balclutha. The project started 8 years ago with intentions to renovate the old Memorial Hall. But after earthquake and other issues, it was decided to build a new facility attached to the local Presbyterian church. Local dairy farmer Evan Dick says a lot of hard work has gone into getting the building finished.
It's just such a big project. It's putting a feasibility study together. It's putting, we're fundraising $1 million. We're a town of 800. It just doesn't happen overnight.
The hall, which is double glazed and boasts a brand new kitchen, can hold up to 300 people, the same capacity as the old one. And Dick says the new space is intended for the whole community.
It's here for everybody, so long as they treat it with respect, and because the town owns it now, it's ours. It's not the council own it, the Karangaroo community own it, it's our building, so it's like everything else in the town that we've fundraised to build and do. The town really take ownership of it.
He says having one hall for the whole community could be a model for other small towns.
And I think a lot of other smaller towns like ours need to look at these options, because using one building for everything, you're not having different buildings spread around the town, and it's hard to maintain them. It's we can sort of all work together and sort of maintain the one building.
3 years ago, the town launched affordable house and land packages, which is now seeing 6 new homes in development. And he says the town is looking more positive.
There's other groups in town, the skate park, we've got a brand new daycare centre opened up. We've got a committee running the pool. We've got a garage opened up just behind us, full mechanical repairs, and people are starting to believe, hey, people got to live somewhere, why not live here?
Now that the community hall's almost complete, they're looking at another fundraising project to improve the riverside with a boat ramp and picnic facilities. In Kaitangata, for the South Today.
Ashburton has held one of its biggest citizenship ceremonies, with 59 people from around the world publicly declaring their allegiance to New Zealand. The Ashburton Trust Event Centre hosted the ceremony recently, which is the final stage of the citizenship journey.
A fierce challenge and warm Pacific welcome for 59 people who became New Zealand citizens in Ashburton yesterday.
First, let me convey to you all a very warm welcome to this most important occasion on becoming a New Zealand citizen. When you first came to this beautiful country, you may not have known that you would one day call it your own. Today, your journey towards making New Zealand your home will be complete.
The Tynwald School Kapa Haka group leading the ceremony before immigrants from North America, Africa, Asia and Europe took turns swearing an oath or affirmation to Queen and Country. Mayor Donna Favell says people migrating to Aotearoa add welcome cultural elements to the country.
You share a common bond with all New Zealanders, regardless of our different backgrounds. Significantly, you bring the history and heritage of your homeland to your new status as a citizen of New Zealand, thereby enriching us all.
The new citizens include 14 from Britain, 10 South Africans, 7 Filipino, 5 Sri Lankans and nationals from 13 other countries, including tiny Liechtenstein, Italy and Malawi.
Those of you who will participate in today's ceremony will be fulfilling the hopes and dreams that brought you to our land. I would like to give you my assurance that the good wishes and support of the people of the Ashburton community are with you on this special day
An average of 150 people a year have attended citizenship ceremonies in Ashburton over the last 5 years. The Ashburton district had a population of around 32,000 that's forecast to grow by 6,500 residents over the next 25 years. In Ashburton, the South Today.
After the break on this edition of Southern Newsweek, we find out which Otago-based learning institution is replacing coal-fired boilers with ecologically friendly fuel, and visit a lovingly restored heritage site in mid-Canterbury, so stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Otago University is working with Pioneer Energy to switch the fuel used at the Dunedin Energy Centre from coal to locally sourced wood chips. The university is replacing its coal boilers with cleaner burning wood-fuelled ones, in line with its aim to be carbon neutral by 2030.
The heat is on when the chips are down.
This is the wood chips we're using for heating. Heats this whole building. We use it for running the radiators as well as hot water, domestic hot water. It was coal, but now we're using wood chips, much better to use, not dry, not easy, cleaner to use, cleaner burning.
Otago University has a target of being carbon neutral by 2030 and is continuing its rollout of wood chip furnaces, replacing coal-fuelled ones. Otago University's Energy and Buildings Manager says that the modern Austrian wood burners are better in many ways.
Yeah, these are two modern wood-fuelled boilers. They come from overseas, they come actually from Austria. They use wood chips, are self-cleaning, self-de-ashing, require only minimal maintenance and are very efficient because of that.
The latest two have been installed at Residential Hall Carrington College to heat Jenkins House and were put in at a cost of around $200,000. Peach says running the new boilers costs half as much as running coal-powered ones.
Previous coal boiler had an efficiency of probably 50% conversion of coal energy into a hot water heat. This one goes above 90%, and since we run them and they're modulating and they run on a perfect load, they maintain this high efficiency most of the time.
He says about 13 wood-fuelled boilers have been put in over the past 10 years, and the next step is working to compost the ash from the chips. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The heritage value of Hakateri Corner has been recognised with a blue plaque from Historic Places Mid-Canterbury. It's part of what was Hakateri Station, with its historic stone cottage and old cookhouse, all of which have been restored.
Official recognition for an historic cottage. A heritage plaque unveiled at Hakateri Corner, part of a heritage precinct in Ashburton Gorge. It's the 6th blue plaque awarded in the district by Heritage New Zealand.
And this is an initiative we started about 18 months ago or so to get plaques on some of our listed historical buildings in Ashburton and in the Mid-Canterbury districts.
The plaque says Hakateri Station was settled in 1857 by Thomas Henry Potts, who's known as one of New Zealand's earliest conservationists. Local historian David Howden is one of those behind the project and says the plaque has been in the planning stage for around a decade.
To help maintain these iconic station buildings, the Department of Conservation manager George Hadler convened a community meeting in Mount Somers in 2010, and from this the Hakateri Heritage Committee was formed.
Deputy Chair of Historic Places Mid-Canterbury Nigel Gilkison says the idea for the round blue plaques to signify historic places comes from England.
So it's really it's sort of based loosely on the blue plaques that you see in London and in the UK, about the same size, so they're obviously quite big, but they're really intended to be a signifier that this is an important heritage place, as well as sort of a little bit of information about each of the buildings.
Hakateri Corner features the stone cottage, a visitor centre, a wool wagon used to take wool out of the gorge, as well as a killing shed and a skin drying room. The stone cottage, now earthquake strengthened and restored, was originally built in 1865, and the singlemen's quarters were built in the mid-1870s to house station workers. In Mid-Canterbury, the South Today.
There appear to be a lot of firefighters at Kaikorai Valley College at the moment, but there's no need to be alarmed. A group of pupils have created a company called Ignite, which produces fire starters recycled from environmentally friendly materials.
A group of bright sparks from Kaikorai Valley College have come up with an ecologically friendly fire starter. 3 pupils have taken 3 ingredients to produce fire starters without petrochemicals and are pitching them as their entry into the New Zealand Young Enterprise scheme.
They outlast all of the competition, which is, those wee petroleum fire starters, which is our main goal to tackle, is the problem of petroleum fire starters which spew all this nasty stuff into the air, or just a bunch of newspaper, and they work brilliantly.
Ignite Communications Director Eddie Bernhardt says business is hotting up with many orders coming in for their innovative product.
We've had about 80 orders, so just from, people, just friends and family outside of the school, from, the members of the group and teachers.
The Young Enterprise project is a year-long module where pupils form a company, become directors and develop products and services which they market. Their firelighters create no soot or fumes and burn for up to 9 minutes.
So it is made out of just egg cartons that people donate to us, which is it's kind of like a wee mini fireplace in itself. So the egg carton holds kind of like the fireplace. Then we've got the kindling, which is wood shavings that are excess from the tech room, and then the main burner is our beeswax, our unrefined beeswax.
The product's been on the market for a fortnight, and Bernhardt says they've already received more than 80 orders from as far away as Greymouth. He says even the packaging is recycled, coming from a source within the school.
Yeah, so our packaging is made from a bunch of old curtains, and we just cut them up, we sew them, and it creates our packaging, which is 100% recycled as well.
The group hopes to have a stall at the Dunedin Farmers Market in the next few weeks, where they plan to talk about and sell the product. In Dunedin, the South Today.
And that wraps up this edition of Southern News Week. For the latest news from the Southern region, subscribe to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Have a lovely evening. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.